How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. The Tennessee Titans are reportedly out here shopping star and stud running back Derrick Henry this offseason, potentially looking to move on for the back. It does make some sense. I mean, the guy's looking at a $16 million cap hit this year after they restructured his contract. And the Titans could potentially be saying, hey, rebuilding maybe here, moving on from this guy, trying to put some cap space somewhere else, just understanding like this guy's not going to be part of our future when we're good again. I don't know the exact reasoning. You got to imagine a lot of it's got to be the cap. A lot of it's got to be the fact this guy's older, and you always worry about, he's going to be 29 or playing 29. You got to worry about a guy's wear and tear as a running back. 29 is a pretty scary year for the most part. It's like, let's sell this guy while we can. And that raises a lot of questions, not only for the Titans getting rid of him, but other teams acquiring him, like the Cincinnati Bengals. Should a team like the Cincinnati Bengals go after a guy like Derrick Henry? Their sports books already taking, bets on who's next team or who the next team will be that Derrick Henry plays for. The Bengals on sites like PointsBet over here, odds-on favorite at plus 400. Tied for the odds-on favorite, but odds-on favorite. Which raises the question, should the Bengals be going after this guy? Obviously, looking to get rid of Joe Mixon, trying to likely looking like he's going to be released or shed some cap space. It's like, if you're going to get rid of Joe Mixon, why would you go pick another guy up with an even higher cap hit, of course? But I think, there's a difference here. You got to be, if Joe Mixon was producing and was a good running back for that money, they'd be paying him. Problem is he's not. That's why they're getting rid of him. And I got to say this. If you're a follower of the channel, of course, always appreciate you guys watching the content, but you probably know by now, I'm about as anti-pay a running back as it gets. And I'm not a fan of picking a guy in the first round. I think you get a guy later in the round, you can get a couple guys, a committee backfield that makes things work. Through and through things that's a key to a Super Bowl. But this is Derrick freaking Henry. This isn't your average running back. This isn't your everyday running back. This is the running back, the best pure runner in the league since we've seen Adrian Peterson in his prime, in my opinion. And I think that has a lot to be put into consideration here because, again, we expect the work ethic. Look at the guy's a freaking monster. The work ethic this guy's got. And I think you look at him and say, hey, he can be like an Adrian Peterson where even at 29, 30, 31, he can produce. And just 4.5 yards per carry last season. On a team that there wasn't a team in the world that thought they was going to throw the football. Loaded boxes, 8-man boxes day in and day out for this guy. Still producing. His yards before contact last season, 2.1. That goes up against Joe Mixon's 2.4. Just to put things in perspective, we talked about a Bengals offensive line. The Titans offensive line was really struggling. This guy was getting hit again, 0.2, 0.3 yards before earlier than Joe Mixon was, and he was making more out of his carries still. Again, there was no secret. There's been no secret for years that Derrick Henry's going to run the football, and that's how the Tennessee Titans are going to win football games. Every team knew it, and he still produced. He still ran through teams. And you consider what would happen if you put that on an offense that nobody's worried about stopping the run game. It's all about stopping Joe Burrow in that pass game. You put the best running back in the league, arguably at his age, I guess, but you put the best running back in the league alongside Joe Burrow. You want to talk about changing the dynamic of football games. Can you imagine Derrick Henry back there? 6, 7-man boxes at best? Never. You won't see an 8-man box against the Cincinnati Bengals with Derrick Henry, I don't think. Because they're going to tear you apart. You can't afford to do that. You're going to be one-on-one, and you're going to go out there and one-on-one T. Higgins and Chase all game. Imagine the mismatches with a guy like Derrick Henry on this Cincinnati Bengals football team. Now, we will say, a lot of his runs came out of the I formation, but he did produce out of the gun. We know the Bengals like doing that as well. But I can't imagine. I think you sit there and say, hey, you have to be talking to Tennessee. You got to be in their ear. You got to see what's going on. You got to see their asking price. You got to throw something on the table. And I think this is a situation. It seems crazy because it's Derrick Henry, but it's a situation where you say it's very possible if they really want to move on from Derrick Henry, they could release him. And then you say, hey, it's free fire or free roam for anybody. You go out there and get him on a cheap deal. But that being said, you could also say, hey, the Titans might be willing to retain some of this salary, might be able to do what they have to do because they'd rather do that than get nothing. Maybe you throw out a second. I think a second's a lot. It worth it if you're like, let's win a Super Bowl right now. I think you say we could possibly throw out a third. I think a third's more than reasonable. Do you throw out both? What's the asking price for a running back like Derrick Henry? He's got 1 year left on his contract. Again, he is an older back. It's an interesting dynamic. But if you said, hey, we can have Derrick Henry, 3rd round pick, they're going to retain a decent chunk of that salary. Somehow the Bengals can find a way to finagle his salary cap and get it, let's say, below 10 million or around 10 million. Oh, I'm all over it. Very rarely would I say that. I couldn't be more confident in a guy like Derrick Henry changing this offense. And the Bengals, really, we talk about an offensive line or drafting a tight end. You want to talk about what would really change this offense? Put a guy back there that teams have proven they cannot stop year in and year out, with far less around him. And you go out there and put a dynamic offense, an MVP caliber quarterback. Oh, I can't imagine. I'm just thinking about it. Why you got to go out there and say the Bengals could be an odds-on favorite? Because now I'm dreaming about this and how great it would be. But, oh yeah. That's all I can say. I have no other word. You got Derrick Henry? Bring on in. Let's have a talk. I mean, that's important to note too, though. You got to throw an offer on the table just for the pure fact that if this guy were to be a free agent, you imagine him going to Kansas City, or you imagine him going to Buffalo on a cheap deal. It becomes a who wants him more kind of thing. Who's he want to play for as a free agent? He's gonna get his money. He might be again championship chasing at that point in time in his career. He's gotten paid, and you say he might take a cheaper deal to go play for a championship contender. You don't want that in the AFC. You have to be willing to potentially throw out offers out there and just see what the Tennessee Titans are thinking. But I think if you're the Bengals, you say again, the Joe Burrow championship window is his entire career. But when you want to play a salary cap game, it is closing. It is closing very quickly. Who's out there? You going after a tackle, you drafting a tackle. You figure out what you're going to do with this offensive line, this defensive line, the CBs, what you want to do in the draft. You got that plan mapped out, and you can somehow find a way to find the cap for Derrick Henry and say, you want to turn this team into an even bigger Super Bowl threat than they already are? Make them impossible to stop on the ground. Imagine Joe Burrow at the line of scrimmage with the ability to audible anytime he wants to Derrick Henry, and teams have to game plan for that. Good luck. I don't imagine him slowing him down. I'd love to see him try it. I'd like to see the asking price. Love you guys' thoughts. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.